Good morning, Sylvia. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. Good morning.
So we'd love to have you tell us a little bit about you and the journey that brought you here.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. So I have been sort of Miss International my entire life. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a very international, multicultural, multilingual environment. And so from a very young age, growing up in Brussels in Europe, I was surrounded by people from different cultures, and I had to navigate these differences in my daily life from a young age. And then I moved to Miami, Florida, another cultural melting pot, where now I brought my European way of life into this American multinational environment and found myself having to learn a lot of new things. So I've been working for global organizations my entire career. And in doing that, I was in charge of international relations. So my job was always to help others navigate through the differences and facilitate the relations between people from different backgrounds. And 3 years ago, I decided to create my own firm called Culture Wiz so that I could help organizations sort of enter new markets across borders, as well as executives and teams, as well as schools, teachers who deal with people coming from different countries to work through some of these intercultural differences.
You talk a little bit about how culture is intrinsic and it's vital for survival, and culture is omnipresent. So talk a little bit more about those principles that you believe in.
Yes. Well, it's, as a matter of fact, culture is a lot of things, but once we understand that it is intrinsic, meaning it is something that we learn at a very young age, it is essential to our human nature, and it is a component of how we think and how we behave and how we feel. It's also vital for survival because it rules just about every aspect of our lives. And we also know that culture is omnipresent because it is virtually embodies everything of how we act and what we do.
So our audience of school nurses sees a wide variety of students on a daily basis, depending on the demographics of each of their individual schools. So obviously culture, different cultures, comes as a part of that. What advice would you give to our school nurses so that they can understand and impact their students more on a daily basis?
Yeah. A lot of differences, and again, in a diversity, equity, and inclusion sort of environment, this goes beyond culture. It addresses just about every type of diversity that we have. And one of the things that we've learned at a very young age is this golden rule, right? Treat others the way you want to be treated. And that can be a challenge in such a diverse environment because not everybody thinks the way you do. Our reality isn't everybody's reality. And so my first advice is to replace the golden rule with the platinum rule, which is to treat others the way they want to be treated.
And it's interesting that you talk about diversity and inclusion a bit. I read one of your blogs, and in it you say, while diversity is a fact, inclusion is a choice. Talk a little bit more about that statement.
Yes. Well, in this interconnected world that we live in, our communities, our companies, our schools, our families are becoming more and more diverse by nature, right? So diversity has become a fact. It used to be something that we would seek to create more diversity within these areas, but today it's almost there as something that we can take for granted, that we are going to be interacting, again, in companies and schools across different, generations, across different genders, across different ethnic and racial and linguistic and cultural backgrounds of people. So diversity is a fact. Inclusion, however, is something that you have to have a deliberate attempt to embrace. And I speak about this inclusive mindset because mindset is at the heart of deciding that inclusion is important in your life and that you make that choice. And by making that choice, you have to put in motion a certain number of habits for you to embrace it fully. Because like any good habit, you have to, rehearse it, you have to plan for it, you have to practice it. And that's what I'm here for, helping with some of the skills that are really vital for everybody in this day and age to make diversity a choice, hopefully their choice.
And I think what do they say? For a habit to become something that you do on a routine basis, you have to do it for a certain number of days, right? 21 days, they say, for fitness or whatnot. So that continual practice really is what you're saying is.
Yes, it's not only continual, I talk about it as being a journey because an inclusive mindset isn't something linear that you start and you end and now you have an inclusive mindset. We are constantly challenged with new realities, new terminology, new changes in our society that require us to constantly reassess. So it's more of a journey. And I talk about it being like a pendulum because sometimes you get kicked back and you have to not start back at square one, but certainly, unlearn and relearn. When you deal with different cultures around the world, I thought I understood Europeans, which in itself is very diverse because of the number of different cultures that I grew up with in Europe. And then I came to the US, and then I learned a set of new things that, had to be part of that. So it's this never-ending journey.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So what would you say that would help our school nurses implement some of these ideas to become more inclusive and have that mindset?
Yeah. As I said, first thing is embracing it as a mindset that is something that is important to you. And once you do that, I have a technique that involves 3 different sort of categories. The first one is to accept. And under accept, and the first one is absorb. Under absorb, we have to basically become more self-aware of our own behaviors and the types of things that drive our own actions. And once you're aware of what the values are that drive your own behavior, you're already halfway there. You then, as part of your absorb, have to be more self-aware of others, and you have to pay more attention to the behaviors of other people around you. Then you need to develop a certain amount of curiosity, right? Curiosity is an important habit in that you need to be asking a lot of questions. You need to be paying attention. The second category is to accept. And accepting is part of knowing that you're not an expert at everything, that you basically need to unlearn in order for you to learn new things in life and to get out of your comfort zone and be, what I say, comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yep.
And then finally, when we do that, we are ready to adapt. And adapting is all about understanding how we can stretch that comfort zone without losing ourselves in the process, without having to change who we are at the core. And that's a really important part of the mindset, which is definitely remaining authentic to your true self.
We have time for just about one more question today. So tell me, what are some things that you just want to leave school nurses with today if they take nothing else away from today's session?
Well, I hope they will make inclusion a choice and that they will think about the amazing impact that they have on their students and their communities, the parents, the coworkers, the teachers, and everybody around them, so that they can create an environment in which it's okay for people to explore and to be their true authentic selves and act as an ally as well. We need more allies for inclusion, and I think school nurses are very well positioned to do that. So I hope that will be the message they're left with.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time today, Sylvia. We really appreciate it, and here's to being an ally.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.